gentlemen, welcome back to podcast 9, season 3 of the Blue Collar Workers. As always, I'm John, Sean, or Yaka, depends on what you're asking.
I'm Chris.
And this is your voice, your nation. Weather's looking a little better. We know we joke about it quite a bit. You know?
It's actually meant to be starting getting into double digits of
roughly
around 15 degrees.
Yeah, 15 degrees, you know. Nearly summer weather.
No, spring's almost upon us. Spring first.
15 degrees, no, that's British fucking summer.
No, I know, actually, no, lately, over the past couple of years, it starts becoming summer when it starts reaching 20 degrees.
Yeah, I know, but that's abnormal for us. Over on my side, I have lobbying firm co-founded by Madelson going into administration. Oh, we're going to get into that. UK agrees drone defence plans for EU countries and allies. Well, okay. That seems positive. The Liberal Democrats set out plan to stop Senko schools being used as cash cows, because a lot of private Senko schools these days. And the UK should send non-combatant troops to the Ukraine, says the fucking moron Boris fucking Johnson. I hate that man with an undying passion for what he did to this country. He should never be speaking about us. Anyway, over on Chris's side.
Sharia courts in Britain, great big question mark.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Here we go again.
Apparently police turn blind eye to them. Is Stammer up to no good?
Yeah, probably.
Drawing up plans to sack his rival West Streeting for plotting to take his job.
Well, yeah. I could totally believe that.
COVID in the crosshairs again, because apparently it's getting the blame for us dying in colder weather.
No, that's the heating companies not wanting wanting more money.
And then the elephant in the room, the Prince under arrest.
Fuck. Jesus. The Windsors knew he was dirty. They knew he was dirty. Remember, Charlie's tried to get rid of him for years.
The two main points regarding this one is MPs call for a treason probe. So in other words, it's serious prison time. And MP calls for him to be removed from the succession rate.
That's going to happen. That's the easy thing, because the king isn't in the way. Yeah, that's the easy thing for them to do.
And the king backs it.
Yeah, because Charlie hates him. Charlie has always fucking hated Andrew. And it was because of it was Queen Elizabeth, God rest her soul, that had a problem with trying to keep her boys from fighting. But Andrew was always the fucking troublemaker, and Charlie couldn't stand him. And you see the same of that with Will and his brother now, don't you? It's going on with Will and his brother. Like the echo effects are unreal when you look at royals. Anyway, the UK should send non-combatant troops to the Ukraine now. Former Prime Minister Johnson tells the BBC. You fucking tool. I can't stand this man so much. Former Prime Minister should never have been Prime Minister. Says the UK and its allies should deploy non-combatant troops to the Ukraine right now to flip a switch in Russian President Vladimir Putin's head. Are you out of your boggling fucking mind? Just in that one statement, what's your thoughts?
You're a fucking moron. Straight off the... Why the hell are you sending non-combatant troops into...
a war zone?
A war zone, yeah. The only thing, if we are to stick any troops on
Put them on the Polish border. Get them up to Poland. Get the defence turrets up to Poland. Poland's a NATO country. We can move around there without problems. Reinforce the Polish border, absolutely. Lithuania, Latvia, all that area. Reinforce our NATO allies.
To be honest, Poland, if we turn around and done that, Poland would probably send some of its forces with us to reinforce its own border.
No, their borders are tanky anyway, but if we turned up, it would add validity. I say do it within NATO command. Do not go into the fucking Ukraine. Speaking exclusively on Sunday with Laura Kusenberg, alongside the former head of the military, Admiral Sir Tom Redikins, Johnson said troops should be sent to peaceful regions in non-fighting roles. No, you fucking tool! The UK government is currently working with its allies to plan a coalition of the willing to provide forces to preserve the peace and stability in Ukraine, but only if there is a deal to end the war. Speaking just days...
I love that point, as long as there's a deal to end the war, yeah? That says to me the only time you ever send a non-combatant into a war zone is if a peace treaty's been signed and it's upheld.
Yeah!
Apart from that, if it's an active war zone, absolutely fucking not.
No,
not
Johnson's smoking something.
The only thing you're doing is literally putting innocent people in the line of fire, which obviously some are going to get murdered, because I can guarantee you some Russian nutcase of a soldier that supports Putin's going to go, I'm going to make an example and shoot these non-combatants.
Yeah, absolutely. And the British non-combatants.
And then that'll just be a catalyst for starting some unnecessary shit.
Starting more shit. Speaking just days before the 4th anniversary of the war, Johnson, who was Prime Minister at the time of the invasion, also said the conflict could have been prevented if Western allies had paid more attention to Putin's increasing aggression and his annexation of the Crimea in 2014. Johnson and Sir Tony recounted their moments when Russia invaded Ukraine on the 24th of February 2022, and the early days of the war, when the decision to support President Voldemir Zelensky. All hail the Dark Lord Voldemort Zelensky. Was made. I think he's as corrupt as fuck. I have no respect for Zelensky. He is absolutely bent and a tool of Western intelligence apparatus. Despite extensive UK support, they agree that Western allies have been too slow and cautious in providing support to Ukraine. In the past 4 years, allies have often taken months to agree to send weapons that President Zelensky has requested. So Tony, that's another fucking retard. Tony Blair.
Hang on, you're complaining we're taking too slow when we have to consider consequences of the fact that if we jump in, we can start World War III.
Yeah, motherfucker, he's got nukes.
Yeah, you're clearly friggin'. You need to go to the insane asylum.
Yeah, both of them, Tony Blair and him. So Tony described the Allies' approach as incriminatingly and said Ukraine felt it was too slow and it deeply frustrated them. These tensions have existed all the way through. Johnson said that the caution had cost lives. We've always delayed needlessly, he said. We've then ended up giving the Ukrainians what they have been asking for, and actually it's always served to their advantage and to the disadvantage of Putin. I mean, the one person who suffers from escalation is Putin. He added, if we can have boots on the ground after the war, after Putin has consolidated to a ceasefire, then why not now? Because it could spark a war with a NATO country, you stupid fucking tool. Just to make the point that it is up to the Ukrainians, and neither of those people wouldn't be there in a war fighting capacity, right? Asked if he meant the UK and other European allies forces should go to safe parts of Ukraine now. To flip a switch, he said, yes, I think if you are willing to do it in the context of a ceasefire, which is of course puts all the initiative and all the power in Putin's hands, why not do it now? Because in the prospects of some posh captain getting shot for doing this in an unarmed role, his daddy going mental, the Prime Minister misstepped by planting, I don't know, a nuclear submarine in the fucking goddamn Baltic Sea, and Russia gets the wrong idea, you stupid cunt. Why does this motherfucker not think for 5 seconds?
Something says to me that they want to start World War III.
I get that impression. That people like Tony Blair's a warmongering cunt. Johnson is a disease-riddled fat bastard who should never have been given power. Ever. I can't stand Johnson so much. There is no logical reason that I can see why we should send peaceful ground forces that does show our support, our constitutional support for a free, independent Ukraine.
I see massive
logical problems with this. One, Boris Johnson wouldn't know what logic it got up if it bit him. And two, our troops getting shot unarmed inside a war zone could provoke other conflicting positions.
I don't fancy fucking stepping up to World War III, thank you
very much.
Because I know for a fact if we step into that territory, it won't be long before those bloody buttons are used.
Putin cannot fight. He does not have the military means to fight a united Europe. He doesn't. He just doesn't.
The fact that he's struggling against Ukraine says it all.
Yeah, Ukraine is backed by all of us. Let's not put that where it is. Yeah, if Ukraine didn't have our arms, they'd be fucked by now.
Yeah, no, but hang on, because in fact all we've done is just supply some equipment and whatnot to them, and Putin's struggling just with us supplying stuff. Yeah. Bear in mind, I have a distinct feeling that the Ukraine army ain't as well trained as everybody else.
I would say they're different now. No, after 4 years, what the Ukrainian army's got now is a very veteran force.
I was in the start.
Yeah, in the start, absolutely. Yeah. The Russians were battering them. Nowadays, remember, Russia hasn't made any ground, less ground than what was made in the First World War.
Because they've adapted and learned within such a
short
of course.
Time. In 4 years, the Ukrainian armed forces have become incredibly veteran.
But then if you had our lot to back them lot up, whatever ground Putin's made, he would lose.
Yeah, very, very quickly. And that's why he would use a nuke.
Yeah, that's when he would.
He would use a nuke because he knows he can. If the Europeans get into the conflict with the Ukrainians now, Russia will lose and she will use nuclear weapons. We need to be sensible about these conversations.
Is there a way we can EMP strike Russia to disarm its nuclear arsenal?
No, because many people think that they see. I love the way you think. The problem being is you're thinking from a microchipic kind of explosive approach. The Russian nuclear ballistic materials are not as advanced as ours. They believe that an EMP strike wouldn't do as much damage to their actual nuclear devices as we think they would. Because of the old tech still being used. And it works. Let's not fuck around here. The Russian tech works. But it isn't as advanced as ours and it isn't as reliant on chip-guided systems.
And the old, what's called the older stuff, built a bit more to withstand that shock.
Yeah.
Compared to the newer stuff. You
see, much of the modern microchips world does not do well with EMP-based devices. I don't know if we have EMP weaponry. If the West does, it wouldn't be as effective on Russian technology.
We wouldn't even have to send like an EMP weaponry, because the fact all you got to do is if you know where they store petrol, blow that up. It creates an EMP shockwave for a certain mile distance.
But like I said, I don't think, I might be wrong about this, and I'm freely happy to say I'm wrong about this if I am. I don't think that the Russian ballistic weaponry is as reliant on chip guidances as the West is. Therefore, an EMP would not be as effective if we have EMP-based weaponry.
But then there'd be a case of the fact if you target their power cell, and their power
cell... The power cell is rocket fuel, mate.
No, I mean, it's been like, obviously, because you still got to press a button to...
Yeah, that's an ignition.
Yeah, but that still requires power to...
Chris, they have key-driven systems.
For fuck's sake.
The Russians do. The Russian presses a button, an alarm goes off in a bunker, men come down with keys.
I was going to say the old-fashioned...
Yeah, no, they are literally keys, mate. The Russians are key-based. It's a lot of it's hydraulic-based system.
In that case, find out where the keys are and go in and...
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's more likely than an EMP. What I'm trying to get at is the Russian system may be old, but do not fucking think for a second it isn't capable of doing what it does. Because that's how you lose cities. That's how places like London go up in smoke.
No, because I know for a fact if we was to turn around and for whatever reason end up in war with USA, I know we could EMP strike at several major points and it would cripple the USA.
Yes, of course, because their navy's vastly chip-based.
Yeah, it would cripple.
An EMP-based weaponry system against America would fuck them. Absolutely, because I'm pretty sure the Chinese have an EMP-based system. And that is what fundamentally makes it very deadly against highly advanced microchip-based warfare. I mean,
I wouldn't use EMP against China.
I would. No, I would. You know what? No, you take out their factories and farms, mate.
No. I'd do something even more stealthy. Get the hackers in and just bombard their internet and all their servers with viruses.
I love this. You have to realise that the Chinese, this is one of those conversations I love to have with people. The Chinese don't use the base internet system. No. Their infrastructure is they've built their own Facebook. They've built their own Instagram. They've built their own version of TikTok. They don't use a lot of Western technology.
Can it be hacked?
I don't know. That's an honest, I don't know. But you've got to understand a huge amount of their cyber infrastructure is massively insulated from the rest of the world.
I'd find a way to hack it.
No, I'm saying. Yeah. But you've got to understand, the Chinese networks are not attached. They're not built on the Western web. And people don't realise that.
No, I was going to say, I would literally try to find a way into their web systems and go from the inside out.
That might be possible in cyber warfare. But we as the West are not very strong in cyber warfare. We're really not.
Yeah, you have the cells where they're actually quite good at it, but not as probably
not on a national level like the Chinese have. The Chinese have amazing hacking skills, and we got to acknowledge that for what it is.
UK, we need to up our game.
Oh fuck yeah! Anyway, Johnson said the failure to confront Putin over the annexation of Crimea in 2014, when David Cameron was the UK Prime Minister, was tragic. No, David Cameron did not want to fuck around with the nuclear power and thought giving him tiny little Crimea was probably the best option we had. at the time. Hindsight's magnificent. Johnson, tell me, how is the hindsight involving all the dead grandmas and grandfathers that you fucked over in COVID?
Cameron actually used his brain there. That's rare for fucking conservative.
The fuck are you on about? Johnson, you want to see all the corpses that are lying behind your prime ministership, and you want to talk about taking common sense? Cheeky fucking bastard. I think Putin was further emboldened. Yes, he was further emboldened to attack Ukraine. I do believe that. I fundamentally agree that was emboldened. The problem being is Russia is a nuclear power, for fuck's sake.
With people in charge that are willing to use it. So
yes! They're not civilized to the point of, if I'm going to lose power, I'm going to kill everybody. That's the fucking mindset with Russian Vladimir Putin. I don't necessarily think his people would pull the trigger, though. Because the Russians, the good thing about the story, the missile crisis back in the 60s.
Yeah.
There was a prospect that we almost would have done, we would be living in a nuclear winter now. A Russian officer didn't pull a trigger for a ghost in the communication system. Basically, false data got sent to his radar.
Yeah.
And he thought the Americans had launched a missile. Now, the funny thing is, because of how few, because he thought it was only 1 or 2 missiles,
yeah,
he's like, that's not going to be a strike from the West. The West isn't just going to fire 2 missiles. The West is going to fire hundreds of missiles if we're getting into a ballistic nuclear war, and for that reason he didn't pull the trigger. Now I can't remember the name of the officer, but he got demoted for that because even though it was a computer glitch, this colonel didn't put the key in, didn't fire a nuclear missile in retaliation to what he saw was only a couple of missile launch.
The fact that he got demoted due to it says to me that ghost glitch come from within his own system.
Maybe, maybe not. Whatever it was believed to be discerned towards sunlight, but because he didn't follow protocol, as communist Russians are supposed to do, and launch nuclear retaliation, because these decisions are made by bunker. That's the Russian system is Putin isn't necessarily in charge of whether a nuclear weapon goes off or not.
Damn.
He is now, but in that system, the Soviet system, they were over the commands of these highly intelligent, articulated, political minded commanders.
So ones that actually had common sense.
Yeah. And he saw America is not going to fire only 2 nuclear, I think it was 2 or 3 nuclear missiles.
No, they would literally launch
hundreds, thousands,
multiple to completely annihilate the threat.
Of course, it's mad. It's designed to try and strike your enemy so he doesn't get the chance to retaliate. So he didn't pull the trigger. So I don't necessarily think that Russia will be the people to start nuclear wars, or the Chinese. They're far too intelligent. I mean, people underestimate how smart the Russian people are. If you can't, they're not. I don't think the Russian people want to die for Vladimir Putin. I don't. I don't think they want to die for his pride. And I think that's a very, very important factor because Russia is being hollowed out. Its population is being hollowed out to benefit the Russian president. He's losing. He's lost. I think they've lost like 2 million male adults during this war. Let me actually quickly look up how many people Russia has lost. Right. How many people has the Russians lost in the war in Ukraine? 1.4 million casualties in 3 years. All of teenage to 30-year-old age. So that's hollowing out the generation below me and you. The next generation who will have kids, have families.
That's a massive population here.
Yeah. 1.4, and that's conservative casualties.
Yeah. And that's going on the basis of the fact that if all of them had kids, they would go probably, 1, 2 kids usually, a family has?
No, Russian families were quite much larger. They were normally 3 kids per person.
I was just going on the basis of the fact of roughly what we have. So obviously if they are larger, it's even more. But if one family has 1 to 2 kids, so that's doubling the population every generation.
Yeah. Somewhere about 1.4 million, they believe, of young male Russians have died in the Ukrainian conflict to attrition warfare.
All because of the fact he wants Ukraine.
I don't understand the logic behind why he wants Ukraine.
Was Ukraine part of the
SSR? Yeah. Chris, Germany was.
Yeah.
Germany was part of the fucking USSR. That's how big the USSR was. It was fucking huge. It stretched from Asia all the way to middle of Europe. It was massive. Let's not kid ourselves here. But yeah. I think Boris Johnson's off his fucking tree. I think he's off.
The only reason we got the war now, innit, is because Ukraine wanted to be part of NATO, which would have been sat
right on Russia's border, which I completely understand. It isn't that. I fundamentally believe that when the Ukrainian last president was thrown out of office, that was a CIA op. That was a psyop. I fundamentally believe that the CIA and Western powers have been continuing to push to get close to Russia's border, and Russia has been fucking nervous about it, which is justifiable. I wouldn't want America on my fucking border. I'm serious. We're British. I wouldn't want... They're rapturous, vampiric, pirate fucking nation that rapes and pillages even its allies. That's not the American people. Let's not badger the American people. They're generally good, noble, decent people. The government, I wouldn't want America as a state next to me. Fuck you. That's asking for fucking to get bent over and have your arse raped.
I said they're trying to take Canada, and Canada's told them.
Yeah, do you know what I'm saying? Listen to how the Americans operate. And I don't understand. I do not in any way, shape or form have a problem on the theoreticals of what Russia's doing. But Russia should have done targeted assassinations. Russia should have popped off Zelensky and his underlings. It would have saved so much more manpower. You know, done a poisoning like they did in London. Like the Russians bump off their own. He's in London. I don't care. Use the specialist poisoner. He's in fucking London. What's London going to do? That's why I don't understand why all these Russian oligarchs run to London. Like the British fucking government's going to do anything towards them getting poisoned. Oh, we condemn Russia. Fuck them, they're Russians. Literally, I don't understand this. I don't understand the logic between Western-aligned Russians coming to London and assuming the London political elite who don't give a fuck about me and him would give even less a fuck about some Russian.
The only thing, but can they get jobs so he squeeze every penny of tax out of them?
Yeah. Literally, it boggles me to think that why would white elitist Russians run to London of all the fucking cities in this world? We've come off on a bit of a tangent, but yeah. Where was I? The problem we're in is the fundamentally lack of resolve. On defence spending, Sir Tony called on the government to resolve its promise to spend 3.5% of national income on defence by 2035, a promise made by NATO summit last year. He said, the Prime Minister made an international commitment. The reason for the commitment was because there is a war in Europe, Russia is weak, but dangerous. We are safe as a country at the moment, we are a nuclear power. We are a member of NATO. We have America as our principal ally. I wouldn't bank on that. I wouldn't make bets on America being our principal ally in 10 years.
Is Ukraine part of Europe?
Of course it is. Russia's part of Europe, you dosey bollock.
No, I mean something like the European Union.
No, not the political bodies. No. In terms of geography, yes, of course. But we need to invest in each of those in order to ensure our nation that will continue to be safe in 2030. That's why we have the defence review. To be fair, I agree with Tony Blair on that point. That's why NATO galvanised around an operation plan and the need for more spending, and that has to be resolved. We have made the commitment. NATO is challenging us. Where is our plan? As the war in Ukraine approaches its grim anniversary, it was striking to hear that the former Prime Minister said, with regret, that the bloody conflict could have been prevented in the first place, claiming it was a failure of the West, including times when he was Foreign Secretary, and then at number 10, that emboldened Putin. Essentially, Boris Johnson's suggestion is that the nearly a decade of foreign policy mistakes led to what happened now. No. Vladimir has always been a greedy, power-hungry motherfucker. We haven't been willing to stand up to his... maybe the Crimea point of view is correct. Maybe not. I don't know. I fundamentally feel that when you're playing with a wounded tiger, you're asking for trouble.
Here's a different angle on it for you.
Mm-hmm.
We never had much issue with Putin with previous US presidents in power until Trump come along.
No, Obama. This all runs up from Obama. So this doesn't involve Putin, Trump per se.
Well, at the moment involves Trump.
Of course it
he's
does.
sticking his nose in.
Of course he is. But Obama was, I'm pretty sure Obama was when Crimea was stolen, it was either Obama or it was Biden. And if it was Biden, that guy was a dribbling idiot. Like, he was literally a dribbling idiot.
If it's under Biden, I can understand that, because I don't think he was mentally fit for office anyway.
Who was the president during the start of the Ukrainian war? Joe Biden. Joe Biden was the president of America. Boris Johnson was prime minister. Emmanuel Macron was president of France.
Emmanuel Macron still is, isn't he?
Yeah, fucking useless tool. I'm not a fan of Macron either. I think he should have gone a while ago. Yeah. So I mean, this tells you the international order of the West. We have bumbling Boris Johnson, the vampire that's fucking Emerald Macron, sucking the life out of any prime minister he can get his fucking hands on. Maybe that's a bit cruel to the fucking French politicians, but let's be fair, Macron needs to be pushed out. And we had dribbling idiot fucking Joe Biden who can barely string two fucking words together. I mean, the guy was literally probably suffering from dementia, and he was in office.
He's suffering from some sort of mental illness.
Yeah, of course. He could barely fucking move.
I reckon he was put in power by the elite so they could try to push something.
Oh yeah, of course. Anyway, back in 2022, Europe pledged support to the Ukraine, but said sending troops was beyond what they were prepared to do. Switching the focus of the coalition of the willing to send troops now would be a hugely significant political move, but it's not impossible that allies could discuss alternatives such as creating a safe zone in the west of the country or operating up to Lviv airport as a precursor to a ceasefire. Johnson suggests it seems born out of his own frustrations, particularly given his ongoing links with Ukraine, that the Allies' response has been too haltering, enough support so that the Ukraine can keep fighting, not enough to bring them into the war. If Putin loses the Ukrainian war, he's out of office. I can understand the West's repercussions for this, because Vladimir goes out of office. His own people will kill him, you know that, don't you? Vladimir's dead if he leaves office. He's got that many enemies.
Not surprised.
He has that many enemies in the Russian elite. Fuck the Russian people. He has that many enemies amongst the Russian elite. He leaves office, he's a dead man.
Just like can't think of his name in the Israeli war.
Oh, Benjamin Netanyahu. He's gonna spend the rest of his life in prison. He's going to spend, not even from the Israelis. The Israelis are going to cut a deal that has him and most of his government go to prison, so that they can keep their country. The American power block is going to collapse. At some point, it's going to fall. When it does, the Israelis are going to have to chuck all of their evil politicians
under the bus
just to keep the country. Oh, no, they're the evil Israelis. We're the good Israelis. That's what's going to happen. Anyway, I've been raging at fucking Johnson for far too long. On to you, my boy. I fucking hate his guts so much.
All right, this one I think said I keep seeing it pop up every now and again within news feeds and everything else, and it seems it's done by the Telegraph. I know it isn't going to be too biased. Please turn blind eye to Sharia courts in Britain, because I keep seeing it pop up every now and again, and I'm like, I haven't tackled this one yet.
To be very, very clear, to defend my religion here, Sharia courts are legally appointed by British justice system. Okay, whether or not people want them or not, they are part of the legal justice system, just like Christian magistrates exist to manage over Christian stuff. And what people don't want to discuss is, what does the Sharia court do? It deals with marriage disputes as an advisory position. It deals with death certificates. It deals with the day-to-day lives of Islamic matters under British justice inside of Muslim families, that those disputes would slow down the rest of the court system. The same thing, you have Christian and Jewish courts doing exactly the same in the rest of the UK, but nobody talks about them. And that is the fundamental problem that I'm having here. Okay? One, they're legally allowed to do what they're doing. The British court system, they're not making rule of law. They're not making judgments on criminals. They're not interfering in any kind of thing that is not inside the Muslim community. Sharia courts, or the Sharia court system, is based around policing Muslims, inside Muslims, on civic matters as an advisory body within the stretch of the British legal system. When you make that very clear, nationalists say, oh, I don't want them. Why don't you want them in the country? You don't want Muslims? Because that's what it comes down to. The Telegraph is making this because they want a buzzword headlines. But when you look at it in a logical point of view, if a Christian couple have a marriage dispute, you're going to wait 6 months before you go towards a magistrate court, or you're going to go off and see the Christian counsellors. You go off and see the Christian counsellors, it's faster, it's more specialised towards you, you haven't got to worry. No one bats an eyelid. Do exactly the same with the Jewish courts. And as a point of reference, the British Jews have their own police force. The British Jews have their own ambulance services. No one else does.
Damn, that's a bit...
You know, but no one talks about that.
No.
So
I wonder why. That's a different matter.
As much as I have respect for the idea of the fact that people are complaining about the Sharia court, I need to stress out that it does not in any way, shape or form directly impact on civic criminal law. It doesn't. And they operate lawfully within the purview of the British legal system. Carry on with the article. Let's see what they're going to say so I can take it apart.
Police have been accused of turning a blind eye to the spread of Sharia courts in Britain. Newly released government figures show that less than 3% of so-called honour crimes were successfully prosecuted last year. Hang on, let me read the entire article before you start trying to pick it apart. The data show that authorities are consistently failing to prosecute and prevent honourable-based abuse, which can include offences such as female genitalia mutilation, homicide, honour killings, and forced marriage. And campaigners are warned that the privatisation of justice within some Muslim communities through Sharia courts makes it harder for the state to intervene. They say this has fostered a parallel justice system operating behind closed doors with no state oversight. Nick Timothy MP, the Shallow Justice Secretary, said there can only be one rule of law, but the British state has turned a blind eye to Sharia courts spreading across our country. This is allowing a so-called honour crimes and abuse to go unpunished.
So pause for a moment, okay? First and foremost, honour killings are murder. They're run by the British court system. If they're not being solved, that's the British court system's problem, okay? Sharia courts operate inside a societable position that argues. So they're saying that honour killings and that lot, which is the basis purely on British justice, Sharia courts have no legal capacity to take into account any criminal charge. Mutilation, criminal charge. Female mutilation. Female battery, criminal charge. Sharia courts have no legal premises on these. None whatsoever. So the courts are not picking up the slack. That's what the Shadow Secretary is not holding up. The British courts, who are responsible for this, because Sharia courts have no legal capacity around them, claiming that they have a parallel legal system. No, they don't. Your courts are just not cleaning up their own mess. It is the British justice system's lawful obligation to investigate all these matters with the police. They don't.
But then is it right for the Sharia court system to take up the criminal
They're
matters
not.
and do it?
They're not.
Well, according to this,
No, that's the point. It's an accusation. Where's his evidence? I ask you, tell him, where's he presenting his evidence? He's making a statement that honour killings go on. Yes, they do. They're disgusting. They're completely haram. I say that now. They go on. They're disgusting. They're criminal. They should be prosecuted. But the prosecution sits at the British court system.
So, continue on. While we know there are a huge problem, police officers and prosecutors are not doing their job, as you just said.
As I said.
And locked up the zealots. Forced marriage and FGM have no place in modern society.
Absolutely. And you won't find any British Muslim scholar saying that they do. Because the ones that have ever said that don't remain British scholars. Let us be very, very clear about this. Modern British society has no time for female mutilation or forced marriages of any type. Okay? The Quran, the Sunnah speaks, if a daughter says she does not want to marry someone, you cannot force her. That is haram. And it has been said by so many scholars, I'm getting sick to the back teeth for talking about it, but British secular society doesn't listen to this. Scholars talk all the time. It is haram to force your daughter to marry someone she doesn't want to. You can't. It's immoral. The marriage is unlawful by Islamic scholarship. So when the scholars are saying that you're correct, Chris, what do? Like the religious leaders are saying you're correct. Yes, female mutilation is wrong. Yes, forced marriage is wrong. The scholars in Britain are saying that. The Muslim scholars.
Then there should be.
But the problem being is the courts are not the British. The burden sits with the British court. It's not with us because we're saying yes, we agree. Now please deal with it because you're the legal system.
I was going to say, push the evidence into the court system. Then if they fail, then it's on their back. That's what has been.
Chris, female Muslim doctors have been doing this for the last 10 years, 15 years. They're the ones pushing this forward. Who do you think this motherfucker's getting his... I bet you, we go through this article, piece by piece, you'll find the evidence comes from female Muslim doctors.
We'll find out, won't we? Forced marriage... yeah, done that way. I know, I didn't read that out. Forced marriage and FGM has no place in my society. It's time to crack down on this behaviour and hold the line against the Islamists who would destroy the British way of life. I see a very targeted piece here, slightly, going by the Foreign Secretary anyway.
The Shadow Foreign Secretary.
Yeah, Shadow Foreign Secretary. Last year, 2,949 honour-related offences were recorded in Britain, but only 95 defendants were prosecuted.
That's to do with the court system buckling.
I'm going to say...
That's not to do... The Sharia courts do not have any power over this.
In 23-24, 2,755 offences were registered, but then there were only 85 corresponding prosecutions. And in 2022-23, 3,008 recorded and 68 successful prosecutions.
Again, this is the prosecution system of our justice system as Britain. This has nothing to do with the Sharia system. Because the Sharias can't fucking prosecute them. They don't have any legal power.
This is rather disturbing. In between 2015 and 2024, the Metropolitan Police, so that's just a London force, recorded more than 1,000 reports of female genitalia mutilation.
But this was before it became a massive thing.
Yeah.
Remember, this has been stepped up a lot over the last 10 years. So we're talking from, I think, around 2016 onwards, so just around that onwards. Female doctors against female genitalia mutation has been going fucking strong. There's thousands of women doctors kicking off about this stuff. But the court is what's at failure here. The British Justice Law Reform. And remember, the Conservatives gave us this system. What is it, year 2 in Labour now? After 14 years of... Remember, for 14 years, this has been a problem. You're talking about 2016, Shadow Minister. You were in power in 2016. You were in power in 2017.
That's how he knows the figures.
Yeah, because you were the fuckers in charge. Shrinking our courts, halving our police force. Why are you blaming us Muslims?
Now, if you cut everything out, it's naturally going to backlog even
further. Of course. They were the fuckers in charge, Chris.
Some of the 109 cases of FGM were reported by police last year alone, with a further 111 were reported in 23-24. That's almost double the figures reported to authorities in 2019-2020.
Yeah, that's to do with with how many are coming forward to report. Remember, the more that you start trying to fix a problem, the more you see the problem.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more of it.
Because as I call it, you notice there's a problem, so you dive into it to get to the root cause of it, and then you find
fuckload more of it, obviously. Yeah. Now, at no point will you find whatever British Muslim scholar defends female mutilation or forced marriage is a monafik. He's a monafik. He's a hypocrite, because the Quran speaks very clearly about how people are supposed to behave. You cannot force your daughter into a marriage. You should not harm or mutilate your daughter. There's nowhere in the Quran, Chris, nowhere in the Holy Quran that allows you to mutilate an FMG.
Right, obviously, I can understand that. Obviously, when it comes to religious matters, there's always two sides of the coin. The fact is, obviously, the one side isn't being represented or just being blocked out. And unfortunately, going by this image, only one side is, and it's saying Sharia, the solution for the East and West. Democracy, go to hell.
Now, those are fanatics.
Yeah, I was gonna say
those are fanatics.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is the issue.
And how old's that picture? I bet you that's from the 2000s.
Don't know how old the picture
is.
You
see, I bet you that's even preceding the picture.
Burqa-clad woman advocating for Sharia courts in London. Doesn't give a date of when it was.
See, that's the fucking scary thing. I bet you that's from back when the British government wasn't clamping down on the Salaf movements that were rampaging through London.
I'm going to say, going back to the point I'm going to make, the problem is, obviously, it just takes a few to darken the water of the entire thing.
Oh yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah. Now, the only way to stop that and actually get it all back in line is, I'm sorry, but all religions to turn around and clamp down on those extremists.
Chris, all of my scholars do is talk about fucking extremists and clamping down on them.
I say not just Islam, but everybody. I know Christians at one point
evangelicals are fucking nutcases.
Did at one point do a sweep through and almost bash it all out, but obviously there's always remnants and it crops back up anyway. But then all of us need to be, anyone that in the religious faith need to turn around and continually clamp down on the ones that go for the extreme views, because it's going to just promote bad publicity and reputation and everything else that goes along with it for your religion. Because every religion's turn around has had that point of, shall I say, questionable decisions made within the religious faith, regardless which faith you turn around to look at it. Dark Ages, wasn't Christianity under fire in that?
Yeah, Dark Ages.
Yeah, Dark Ages, yeah. Christianity had that section. Obviously, I know because obviously Islam is one of the newest religions.
Well, it's about 600 years younger than Christianity.
Yeah, I would say one of the younger ones.
It's still old. It's like 1400 years old.
And I was going to say, but still, compared to the rest, it's still one of the younger ones.
East London in 2010, that picture is. He's dragging up a picture that's over fucking 16 years old.
Yeah.
Do you understand my problem here? This is what the Shadow Defence and the Telegraph have done. They've dragged up a picture that I've just Googled that was taken in 2010. During the height of the Salaf movements rampaging around London, calling for people to be beheaded. You know, that really evil fucking shit that Muslims had to deal with nearly fucking 16 years ago. All right? So they're dragging up artwork and pictures to rehash them 16 years later, talking about female mutilation, when we've gone so far, when scholars have stepped out and started attacking all these problems. You're ignoring 16 years of progress in this argument.
I don't think, obviously, another thing that's probably fueling it is obviously due to the amount of illegal immigration that's coming over and being provided with free healthcare, free boarding and lodging, as I call it, underneath the taxpayers' money. I don't think that's helping the issue either.
No.
Because in fact, I know for a fact there are extremists within the Islamic.
Of course, absolutely. No, I'm not even denying it. I'm not denying it.
So
but the press do hyper refocus on them.
Because of the fact they're just focusing on that one thing, it's not doing anyone any good. And the fact that the government turns around and decides to slash the workforce of the police and everything else. Yeah. And you wonder why there's a fucking backlog.
Of course there is. Yeah. There's going to be a fucking backlog because the Sharia courts have no legality to deal with these problems.
It doesn't help either when the police try to cherry pick people due to the woke fucking agenda. I don't give a shit. It's called, if someone wants to be a copper and they've done the qualifications, they passed the fitness test, done through all the checks. I don't care whether they're white, brown, black, purple, green, fucking multicolored, whatever. As long as they've done the correct path, got the qualifications, done the physical, and have been fully qualified as copper, they're a fucking copper. If 90% of the force is white, that's because of the fact, probably because 90% of the area is white.
Not only was that group attached to an extremist group, those girls and all those extremists were arrested and some of them became fucking jihadi brides. That's how psychopathic that group was. And yet the Telegraph rehashes that 16 fucking years later. And you're telling me they don't have an agenda? Yes, female mutilation is a fucking problem in the UK. Unquestionably. Yes, female Muslim doctors are fighting the same problem. Yes, the talk about extremist Sharia zones 16 years ago, as we know the press like to rehash these things, had every British scholar condemning them. Yes, forced marriage is completely haram. You cannot force your daughter to marry someone.
The one thing I would like to see is actually latest figures of, it's obviously prosecutions, but then I want to know the figures of why the other prosecutions didn't go through. Was it due to lack of evidence, timing, witnesses, faith in the system? What? Because I know for a fact that you can turn around and pile all the cases you want onto the justice system, but if the justice system isn't well manned, how do you expect it to get solved?
from a Google search. Female genitalia mutation has no mention in the Holy Quran. It is a pre-Islamic culture. It has no representations, and every scholar worth his salt, fatwa, that's a religious decree, declares it immoral and illegal.
I think most people will find.
Do you know what I'm saying? So this isn't even Muslim. It just comes from a pre-Islamic time period.
Would that be trying to get the word begins with a
Pre-Muslim Arabic.
Yeah, Arabic. That's it.
Yeah. No, it's actually more African.
More African.
Yeah, it's more African. It's from the African sub-Saharan areas.
So it's been picked up along line and then used in other.
Of course,
other
absolutely. FMG is not in context of Islamic, and nor's honour killing. There's nothing in the fucking. It is literal haram to kill your own family members. The honour system has very little basis in the Holy Quran or the Sunnah and the Hadith, but Muslim attackers don't want to be told that. They don't want to be told that there's no justification, no Islamic jurisprudence behind it. Okay? It is an honour-based system that has no bearing in the Islamic calendarical system. And nor does female mutilation. They're all haram. They're completely against our religion. But people don't want to hear that. It's like, do Christian apologists talk about the psychopaths shooting up schools in America constantly? No, of course not. But they come from good Christian families. Why? Because it happens to be that the West needs a boogeyman. And my religion happens to be the boogeyman. And a scapegoat. Yeah, completely. As I've just shown you Google, there is nothing, Chris, in this that the Quran has any fucking conversation. It's pre-Islamic. It's a cultural practice.
Cultural practice. So that means they've come from an area which used to do it. They've turned to, obviously, they converted to Islam.
And now we're getting blamed for it.
And they're using it within
the context of my religion.
Within the context of your religion. It's almost as if someone's trying to corrupt Islam.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely.
Almost as if they tried to corrupt Christianity and every other faith.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. Absolutely. This is the point. If you were to take a look, you were to hold the Holy Quran and the Hadiths in our hand, I can guarantee you most of the problems that the West has with what they're saying that is Muslim, it isn't. That's the fucking problem. Okay, having someone who has read my holy book and much of the Hadiths, I can tell you with considerable certainty as a revert, that's someone who goes to the Islam, not someone who's born into it, that there is no justification behind female mutilation, no justification on honour-based system. It is haram to commit most of these acts, and fatwas, as in religious decrees, have been issued against them up and down the Muslim-speaking world. But the Telegraph doesn't want to be told that.
No, the Telegraph is just going off the statement that the Shadow Secretary has given.
Oh, of course, the Shadow Secretary is a fucking tool, an absolute tool. And the reason the man's a tool is because he wants to drum anti-Islamic behaviour so he can try and prop up his ideology against Reform, who's having their own problems against an even far right-wing system. Have you seen that? The one the guy that's in Norfolk, that Norfolk party, he's a fucking real racist cunt. I mean, I call Farage racist, but that guy,
next level.
He's at next level. Like, deport everyone who's not English, Welsh, Scottish, and Irish. That's him. he's fine. I'm like, yeah. For me, it's a good thing because it splits Farage's base. Because many of the nationalists that got Farage where he is now are abandoning him
and going to the other nutcase.
And going to the other nutcase. The problem being is Farage can't stand on his own. There aren't enough independents to back him.
It just sounds like the Conservatives been split. They tried to gain traction under certain, and then someone else comes up with even more stupid ideas, and they go back in.
Oh, absolutely.
Because the supporters are that far right.
Yeah, it's got mad now. Like people talking about mass deportation of brown people. That's conversations that are being had today.
The only thing I can say at the moment, if we was to turn around, and I know this is going the opposite end to what we're doing, but I think it may be needed just for a short period of time. Stop the illegal migration completely. Sort out what we've already got.
Yeah.
And then turn around and set standards.
Absolutely.
For you coming in. And then go that way. I know some people are like, oh, but what about people that are in blah, blah, blah. If you're a refugee or whatnot, there will be rules you still have to follow.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. And this is why Nigel Farage wants to leave the ERG. That's why and these have repercussions on you, the British people. The treaties that Nigel Farage wants to leave damage you. They damage you, the British people, in your fucking entirety.
Because I could guarantee you, if the government actually turned around and actually looked at it and go, okay, we really need to sort this the fuck out, and just turn around and go, right, sorry, no, anyone coming over, no, you're getting sent straight back until we sorted out the backlog that we currently got. We need to turn around and polish up our current system so we can then deal with more coming in the future. I know some of you are going to go, oh, that's extreme, that's harsh, but I think it's needed. Because the only way to clear the backlog and stop the use of them using up other parts which are paid for by the British taxpayer, which is what is pissing people off. Let's get this right. It's not the fact that they're coming over, it's the fact that our money is being used to fund.
I just want to mention what the key reform treaties want to withdraw from. The European Convention on Human Rights, that affects everybody in the UK. Anybody with working, medical leave, NHS needs, back pain, you need to tell your boss you need a day off to fucking sort out family problems. The ERC covers that. The 1951 UN Refugee Convention. That's disgusting. We helped set that up. UN Conventions Against Torture. Reform wants to withdraw from torture fucking treaties. Convention of European Anti-Trafficking Convention. The International Crimes Court. These are the things that Reform want to pull out of.
International crimes. Another one that stops from people that committed crimes and other people coming over to here.
Yes! And on the other way round. Allows us to deport people from other countries. The ICC is critical for like someone is a murderer in southern Italy, they'll deport them. Say that it's the same type of murderer and he runs to Thailand. It might take longer. Thailand will still send them back. Brazil, you leave the ICC. That's the base treaty for deporting criminals from anywhere. You're inviting Britons to commit crimes here and fuck off to abroad. Because once they've left the UK, you've got no treaty to get them out. It's mad. They want to repeal the Human Rights Act. They want to scrap the Equality Act. They want to renegotiate trade and cooperative agreement, the TCA. The amount of international treaties that Reform want to fuck with is maddening. Because many of them benefit you right now. And I wanted to close this point, me and Chris going backwards and forwards on Reform. Are you richer than you were in 2016 when you made your choice to leave the European Union? I know the answer. I'm asking you. Has migration gone down or up since we left the European Union in 2016? Why did you leave? Now, Chris will say laws. I think laws are great and our ability to write our own laws is fantastic.
I've also stated in previous ones, the reason most people left were due to Brussels trying to overstep.
Yes.
But then the government completely failed in negotiating shit properly after because of the fact they thought everyone would vote no.
Yes. Absolutely.
That's the reason why.
Absolutely.
That's the reason why we're in the state we are now. Because the Conservative government think, oh, everyone's going to vote to stay. Everyone's going to be like, yeah, we'll stay. We'll be fine. We'll be fine. Not realising the fact that the population was pissed off with rules coming over from Brussels.
It's not the only thing. It was a way of kicking the elites as well. But it harmed all of us.
But that was the main thing. I think that mainly pushed the entire population, the population to vote no, to leave. Because the fact they was getting sick of getting told what to do from someone else.
Absolutely. Liberal Democrats set out a plan to stop Senko services being cash cows. This I agree with. The Liberal Democrats have called for special education needs and disabilities, SEN, services in England to be designated as critical national infrastructure to stop vulnerable children being treated as cash cows by private investors. Council spending on SEN, support for children who need extra help because of a disability or learning difficulty, has soared in recent years, whilst private companies have increasingly bought up schools and services. Why are companies buying schools? Why are companies buying schools and services? The Liberal Democrats said that the proposal would give the government more power to scrutinise acquisitions of SEN providers and ensure deals are in the public's interest. The government is expected to set out a plan to reform the system next week. It has already announced that there will be new national standards and pricing bands for independent providers. The Department of Education said this would end fee variations and give council the confidence to challenge poor value placements. It is not set out at the level of these bands, but reports have suggested they could be a cap at 60,000 a year. You have a Senko child, Chris. Do you want to pay 60 grand a fucking year to put them to school?
No. Why, when you got fucking National School Service?
But the problem is they're being swamped, mate.
Yeah,
They're being absolutely smashed.
I see this as another way of them trying to privatise an entire sector.
Of course, absolutely.
That's when, as soon as you said companies buying schools, I was like,
why are companies being allowed to even buy schools?
That's them trying to privatise the entire education system.
And this is a Labour government. This isn't the rapturous fucking Tory. In the Labour government, private investors are buying schools and utilities for Senko.
Everyone has a right to a fucking education, regardless of what background you come from.
Fucking can't believe this shit. And this is under a Labour government.
No, that to me is them trying to make the gap bigger between the poor and the rich.
Oh, absolutely. Independent special schools charge an average of £60,000
a year.
£63,000 a year per child per year. More than twice the £26,000 for a special school in state. States ask you to so Chris, you've got your theoretical daughter into a state one. They ask you to add £26,000 because to help pay for her lunches, her special materials and that lot. Or you take her private, that's 63.
Go fucking state. Fuck that shit.
And the problem is you have to fight the next 10 families, legally speaking and argument-wise, to get your daughter in there for that state. There's one slot for every 10 families. That's why the privates are doing so well.
Because you have the public sector, don't you? Then
that's public. That's the 26 grand. You have to add extra.
It's fucking nuts.
More than 30% of independent special schools are backed by private equity firms, according to the government. Currently, the status of critical national infrastructure is reserved for essential services like energy, transport, and water. Schools should be in that fucking sector. You stupid bastards.
Nationalise, make sure the entire
you take a sledgehammer, mate. Any corporatisation of private education should be ended. All of it. Every fucking piece of it. Because this is what happens.
Wouldn't universities take a massive hit then? Because I swear...
Wouldn't give a fuck, mate.
I swear like Harvard and whatnot. Harvard's in US.
US, mate.
Yeah. What's in Britain?
Oxford and Cambridge.
Oxford and Cambridge.
I would not give a shit. I genuinely feel that the idea that education is being used as a cash cow is the reason why private equities involving any utility should be fucking outlawed. From university to kindergarten, and everything in that education block should not be touched. Water, power, electric, rail, none of it. Not a fucking thing. And if that makes me a socialist, fuck all of you. I'm genuinely honest about that. Because these are the infrastructures that allow us to live normal people's lives. And I'm tired of greedy fucking politicians taking me and Chris for a cunt, wanting more tax money to pay for private fucking goddamn companies to earn their money off us. Fuck them. I'm brutal about that.
You said it absolutely fucking right.
And this isn't about a private company owning his private assets. Do you understand what I'm saying? A man turns around and says, I, with my own money, built this farm, or I built this cash cow kind of a chemical company. I don't give a shit about a man doing that. So I'm not a communist. I don't believe that all private equity should be done. But you have no right to things like schools, universities, colleges. You have no right to water, power, electricity, or fucking rail. The country needs base infrastructure to be off limits from capital.
I was literally going to say the basic human rights should not be touched by corporations.
Jesus, Chris, you sound like a socialist.
What about that? That's where it fucking, that's how it was when I fucking grew up, weren't it?
That's what I'm trying to get at. When we were kids, this shit wasn't fucking even considered.
No, I was going to say, literally, if that even come up on the table, they'd be like, no, fuck off. No, you're not touching it. Not fucking touching it. Every child has a right to grow up, to get educated, and have literally gas, electricity, and water provided by us. And
by the state.
They pay a certain thing towards it, and that's it.
Under a Liberal Democrat plan, Senko acquisition would also be subject to public interest tests under the Enterprising Act. This would give the government greater powers to oversee acquisitions and mergers, with the Secretary of State able to intervene if a deal threatens public interest.
I see a corporation world.
Yeah, of course. Liberal Democrat leader Sir Ed Davis said no parents want to send their see their child's education suffer whilst private equity firms cash in on the broken system. Liberal Democrats would introduce new protections to ensure taxpayers' money is spent on frontline services for children, not lining the pockets of offshore investors. Yes! That's the kind of conversation we need.
Invest in your own.
Delaying government plans to overhaul the system could be unveiled as early as Monday, when MPs return to Parliament. Linked plans suggest that from 2029, children will have their rights to support reassessed after primary schools and with more than from secondary schools to college. As the government seeks to control rapid rising costs, this will mean an annual proportion of children will retain the legal entitlements to support. The proposal could face a backlash from campaigning groups who fear that the could water down the legal rights of children. The government has already agreed to clear $5 billion worth of debts that councils have built up and taken on responsibilities for Senko spending in 2028. They shouldn't need to tell the councils they need to take it on. That should be an internal state issue. I don't think the fucking leader, and I like the leader of the Liberal Democrats. I like him. He's generally a good-hearted man, but I don't think he goes far enough. Okay, he does not go fucking far enough. Oh, I want to rage today. Over to you.
This one's, I find, another interesting one. I'm on the interesting post today. COVID is to blame for more Britons dying in cold weather.
Fuck off.
No, what the fuck you want? Seriously?
Fuck off.
Seriously?
The COVID virus is practically dead now. I mean, it's not, but it's practically dead.
No, I was going to say, no, the COVID virus has mutated because of the fact our natural immunity is turned around and built up within ourselves, and it's turned into another version of the cold/flu. Because it's come from that same baseline, hasn't it?
I think it's a more advanced form of influenza.
Yeah,
but you might be right.
Yes, because it's on, as I call, on that same trajectory as cold and flu. It's within that group line. But literally, COVID lockdowns and infection with the coronavirus has made British people more likely to die in cold weather, a government report has found. The risk of dying in freezing conditions have doubled in the 5 years since the pandemic compared to the previous 5 years. Data show. Hang on. No, that ain't due to the fucking lockdown. That's due to you guys fucking raising the cost of energy bills.
Yep.
Let's get that right.
Yeah. Virologists have declared that COVID has become more and more milder because the human immune system has grown.
It's adapted, like we always fucking do. UK Health Secretary, UK HSA age analysis found post-COVID people are about 20% more likely to die with temperature is below zero compared to when it's 14 degrees. However, the 5 winters pre-COVID, the increased risk of death when it's freezing outside was just 10%, meaning the risk of death in sub-zero weather is twice as much now as it used to be.
And the heating bills have tripled in that same time frame.
I'm going to say that you are not considering the fact of the
heating bill, the cost of fucking you. When you have to choose between eating or heating your home, that's where your fucking problems come in.
You are not taking into fact the cost of living. You really are not. You're trying to pin COVID on deaths. Oh, hang on, wasn't that what they were doing during the frigging pandemic and lockdown? When it's supposed to be so many thousand in COVID deaths, when I could guarantee if they launched an actual national inquiry into getting everything out, it's probably due to malnutrition and everything else. Just takes the piss. Or they're labelling it as COVID death when it was actually something else.
It allows them to scapegoat it, that's right.
Yeah.
The coronavirus may be inherently different from influenza, and so coronaviruses of the past may give better clues for the future, Peter Chin Hong has said. But it is part of the influenza family.
Yeah. The UK HSA found that changes in resilience in the general population will likely be blamed, and scientists say a combination of factors has made people less robust against the cold. Bullshit. This literally
fuel bills have made it less fucking possible.
Hang on. Let's get this right. Yeah, the statement he just said, the fact that we've become more immune to COVID over the years
via virologists,
compared to this saying that we've become less equipped for it. There's two contradicting statements here,
and I'm going to take the virologist over a fucking reporter. Yeah. No offence.
Dr. Anna Rackley-Nunes of the University of Warwick said COVID may have contributed indirectly to increasing cardiovascular and respiratory risk. Indirectly. Risk and frailty in some individuals. The virus can cause scarring of the lungs and reduce the organs' abilities to function, leading to breathlessness, chest pain, and fatigue. It has also been linked to a high risk of heart attacks and heart failure. Well, naturally, if your body takes a battering from a disease, it's going to have side effects.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but the most common sense person could turn around and sum this together. If you turn around and was to take a sledgehammer to a main joint post of a building, it's going to fail sooner rather than later because it's took a beating. Same as the human body. It gets smashed, it's going to take some tear.
Yeah, no, they believe the coronavirus is becoming more and more milder by the day.
Because our immunity is increased.
Yeah.
Decreased immunity level. Stop saying decreased immunity. It isn't decreased immunity. It's you guys not fucking controlling the cost of living, you twats.
Yeah, no, completely. That's it. Let it go. Rage, you bastard.
Caused by underexposure to bugs during COVID lockdowns. Fuck you. Yeah? How about you stop doing the fucking nanny state and let us go back to playing in the dirt, you fucking twats. Oh!
Absolutely. Completely.
Get fucking people outside in the natural environment so their immune system adapts to that environment, not shield them behind a fucking protective bubble of four walls and you're supposed it's better for everyone and then complain that we're all dying sooner because of the fact you're a bunch of muppets and didn't let our immune system evolve. You fucking dickheads.
The medical professionals, like some of them, they mean well. Let's be fair. Many of the doctors who make these decisions remain well, but as the virologist Hong says, meaning well and actually doing well are two different things. He believes a lot of doctors were making bad decisions in good faith. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
They wanted to protect the public, so they tried to find ways to try and protect the public.
Massive point to the lovely argument, yeah. In the younger days, if one child had chickenpox, they had a chickenpox party, so all their kids got chickenpox at a young age, so their immune system adapted and was able to defend against it later on in life, instead of the ones which turn around and go, now I'm keeping my child away for them to then develop it as adults and pass away.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, how does chickenpox relate in adults? It's called shingles. It's the same disease, just a different name. There's my argument. Exposure young, immune system builds up, a defense against it, you don't have that issue later on in life, and you actually become stronger for it. It's when you're older and you're then exposed to the disease because your immune system has already gone past its build stage, so it's not able to react and recover as fast as when it was younger. These people piss me off. In the immediate aftermath of the pandemic, people may have lowered natural immunity and were more susceptible to catching infections during colder months, said Dr. Andrew Whitmore, a clinic lead in Asthma and Lung UK. If they become more susceptible, it usually means the fact that their lung condition or asthma has become worse.
I blaming COVID is their way of avoiding
their fuck up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the NHS backlog for respiratory care may have resulted in people with lung conditions who are vulnerable to the cold not being diagnosed and treated in a timely manner. Oh, I wonder why.
I can see how this is going to get you angry.
You wonder why people didn't get diagnosed in time if there's a backlog. Why was there a backlog? Because you're telling everyone to stay home and not bother the hospitals. Let's use common sense here, people. Yeah?
And the services are fucked. Let's give that... We've got to put that out there, Chris. The services are fucked.
I know our NHS system was struggling anyway, but because of the COVID pandemic, yeah, if we actually treated it in the correct way, if you suspect you got this, you send them to a certain area for that to get treated whilst keeping the normal hospitals running instead of isolating them off, you would have not had this effect. You turn around, I'm still upstanding about how inefficient they dealt with COVID. Yeah?
Boris Johnson, remember? My favourite guy. He was in charge of all that.
I know whoever was in charge was going to get stick for deaths anyway, but if you managed it in a far better manner, yeah, simple decisions instead of trying to say, stay at home, don't bother the hospital. Instead, if you got this, we've got a dedicated centre developed for, put aside for you to go along to test for this before you even go next to a hospital, so the hospitals can then keep running and keep treating people with respiratory issues, so they then don't die 4 or 5 years down the line due to inadequate care because of the fact he was trying to isolate the hospitals. My eyes. slightly conspiracy theory tried to kill off half the population by disease, it would not be resulting in what it is today.
Boris Johnson is indirectly or directly responsible for 227,000 people dying during his prime ministership from COVID.
I would say indirectly due to poor decisions.
I hold him accountable. He was the prime minister. A lot of decisions that he allowed those to happen. He was the buck starts with the prime minister, mate. If you've got a virus running through your country, you are the person in charge.
Hence, as I said, by bad decisions.
I
I think he didn't have that person sat on his health secretary board at the time, turning and going, hang on. If we got a disease run out of control here, we need to set up separate stations for us to deal with that, so we could keep the main general hospitals running.
Yeah.
How sensible is that? Sorry, the only reason I come up with this because I've watched far too many movies, but in movies they do that similar sort of situation
all the time.
Hang on, we got a disease run out of control. Right, we set up a separate care centre for them so we can keep our general hospitals running.
Yeah.
Simple. And if the person comes in with that disease from the hospital, they immediately transfer them
to the
centres. Yeah. Simple. Easy. You give the answer in films and yet you still don't use it.
Fucking hell. Just fucking hell.
So to the ones that turn around and go, Arbitration was a difficult decision. If you used your brain, you could have managed it correctly. Bumbling Boris Johnson.
Hence my problem with him. I just think because Boris is such an incompetent idiot, and he was one of those kind of politicians who was, it's Johnson, he's such a lovely guy. He's not. Okay, he really was fucking useless as a prime minister.
The conclusion to this lovely article: COVID is not is to blame for more Britons dying in the cold weather. There is a number of factors and other factors which play far more bigger role than they like to admit in the fact of people dying during colder weather, i.e. choosing whether to heat the house or feed themselves. Yeah. Especially within the older generation, because of the fact, obviously, they turn around in their day, planned for what they perceived was going to be their retirement.
Yeah.
But then everyone decided to up the cost of everything through the fucking roof, and they wonder why the older ones are struggling.
It's a nightmare. We finished with you, my boy?
On that one, yeah. And then the last one for me is going to be the main topic of the day.
UK agrees drone defence plan with 4 EU allies. Britain is to develop new air defence weapons alongside the EU's 4 biggest military powers, deepening ties with the European defence sector. The project will invite manufacturing in the UK, Germany, France, Italy and Poland to submit plans to build low-cost missiles and automated drones. The allies are pledged to a speedy process to build the weapons together, inspired by Ukraine's development of cheap drones to counter attacks from Russia.
Welcome to drone warfare, people, and the end of Russia's stupidity.
The UK Minister of Defence, MOD, said that will prioritise lightweight, affordable surface-to-air weapons, with first projected to be developed by next year. The plan announced by at a meeting of the 5 countries' defence ministers in Polish city of Krakow marked a boost in UK-EU ties after the failure of the talks last year over the UK's participation in the EU's new 130 billion defence fund. Agreements would have allowed Britain defence companies to play a greater part in the joint projects funded by loans, but negotiation fell apart after the UK rejected a multi-billion euro entry fee demanded by the EU. A budget for the latest drone defence plans has not been confirmed, but Defence Minister Luka told reporters in Poland that each country was making a multi-million euro commitment to the scheme. The MOD said it would take inspiration from Ukraine, which has quickly developed a huge domestic drone manufacturing sector since Russia's full-scale invasion of the country 4 years ago. Huge numbers of low-cost drones have become a key part in defending the country from Russian attacks that can involve hundreds of attack drones, rendering traditional missile defence systems impractical and costly. To be effective at shooting down relatively low-cost missiles, drones and other threats facing us, we need to make sure that we are matching the costs of the threat with the cost of the defence. said Poland after the meeting. He added that the drone defence plan agreed on Friday would be the first in a series of initiatives from the group of 5 allies known as the E5 to change the economics of warfare and the threat from Russia. The MOD has not provided a detailed plan for how drones could be developed more quickly, but it pledged to step up cooperations with smaller tech companies and minimalise operations requirements for taking part in projects. Europe is under pressure to increase its defence spending in the wake of the Ukrainian war and questions over their reliability of the United States as a NATO ally. The US is not an ally, it's a predator, and it no longer wants to be participating in the European Union. I cannot stress this enough. Europe, Britain, all the European countries, whether you're part of NATO or not, need to get the fuck away from America. It is not helping anyone but America. What do you thought of that opinion? I think that's a positive thing.
Drone, obviously, advancing the drone things so it becomes less men on the ground, troops on the ground, is a positive thing because that means fewer casualties go onto the smaller side. It means the fact that we can turn around and respond quicker to a threat. So the fact all you got to do is just sit in the office, launch a drone to go straight ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, less mobility. Obviously, we're still going to need obviously soldiers and everything else anyway regarding the army, because even with drone warfare, there will be parts where we will need human.
Yeah, of course. You need human decisions
to
be made in critical military infrastructure.
It changes the aspect of warfare. And to me, it changes the aspect into the fact of fewer casualties, fewer deaths, less human involvement.
That's also dangerous, though.
Which I think is a good thing. I know people are going to turn around to, what about the other thing? Yes, I do hear the fact of the slight twinkle in my ears of Terminator in the back of my head. Don't worry, I haven't taken that yet. People are going to say, it's that step closer to artificial intelligence and cyborg, and welcome Terminator 2 Judgment Day. Yeah, there is.
I have come for you, Mr. Bailey.
There is that aspect, but there is always dangers to progression. It's obviously up to us to control that progression and control how it is used.
Get into the chopper!
Yeah.
You have to laugh about it because there's not much I can do to stop it.
Obviously, I reckon it's a step in the right direction, but obviously we do need to control it because the fact if it goes too far, it will trigger conspiracy theorists massively.
Trigger them? Trigger them? He's going to be like, I told them it was coming! I told them it was coming!
If it does come, I'm not going to lie, I'll be standing on the hill going, I'm John Connor!
Missiles coming in every direction. Kill him just in case. Over to you and Windsor, the Prince of Epstein's. The Prince of Epstein.
A senior MP has called for Prince Andrews to face a treason investigation over allegations he leaked sensitive government information to Jeffrey Epstein. Former Tory Cabinet Minister Tom, Tugendhat, and I apologise for butchering your name, but it's hard to pronounce, said the ex-prince's alleged actions raised urgent questions about foreign influence and national security and questioned what are those around him knew. Speaking to Sun on Sunday, he said this goes beyond what a court could reasonably consider. Parliament must consider what it means for the country. It is, if the worst is proved, do we need to revisit treason laws written 700 years ago? It comes as a police searches at Prince Windsor's former home of the Royal Lodge entered their fourth day. Officers began to scour the Windsor property following their arrest on suspicion of misconduct in public office on Thursday. On Saturday, it was reported that King Charles will not oppose plans to remove his brother from the royal line of succession.
I've got this view of the king standing off with his head. I hate the bastard.
I reckon he was keeping quiet until something popped up where he could turn and go off.
Absolutely. Andrew and Charles have never been friends. Let's be fair. Even though they're brothers, they're not. They've never been close. And I do think that Charlie's been waiting to get rid of him.
Royal sources told The Guardian on Saturday that Charles would not stop Parliament from enacting legislation that would prevent Andrew from ever ascending to the throne. The spokesperson from Buckingham Palace told The Independent that the issue is a matter for Parliament. That's basically saying, I'm leaving you hanging out to dry, you face your consequences with the law. which we must all uphold regardless of what position we hold. Thank you, King Charles. That is the most sensible thing you've done. I know it's family, but he dug his own grave and now he must lie in it. What are your thoughts on the living man? Because the rest of it's all about other bits.
Andrew's fucked. Prince Charles has never been close with him. They've always had different paths. They operated in communication with each other through staffers. They communicated, relatively speaking, at a distance, and they've always been at a distance. And Andrew has always been a sign of shame because of the way he behaved. Remember, these Epstein Isles weren't something normal. Okay, if you pay attention to the royals, Andrew was the playboy. Andrew was always out doing the things you shouldn't have been doing. Do you know what I'm saying? So Charles, who takes his job as the king and the heir very fucking seriously, did not approve of his brother's behaviour in his 20s and 30s and 40s. And the fact that he was doing this shit in his 50s is a problem. Is a massive problem. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, you can almost excuse it if he's messing around with teenage girls in your 20s. And Playboy Prince, that kind of thing. I said you can almost, you know, not to the Epstein level shit, but you can almost unexplain it. But not when you're 50. You're a 50-year-old man, the brother to the fucking king, or the future king, and you're fucking around with teenage girls. This is going to cause shit. But he thought he was invincible. The mummy would keep him safe forever.
No.
And I've got nothing bad to say about Her Majesty. You know, Queen Elizabeth II. I've got nothing bad to say about the dead. I never will. I never have. But let me be very, very clear. Andrew should have been cut out of the fucking family tree
Years ago.
Decade ago.
My honest opinion is that it's taken far too long for them to turn around and say it needs to be cut from the royal succession. I think it should be a case of if you renounce your title as prince, you lose your succession right anyway. So that should have happened the moment he gave up his title. I'm surprised he's even in the running, since in fact he's no longer a prince.
Desk pounding disagreements were believed to be reported by chamberlains and other people from the palace between the two brothers. That's how much they don't like each other.
Damn.
Like they had these grievances. I do have other things, but we are running really raggedly on the time frame. So I'm going to have to call short on my...
But the main thing is, it's taken far too long for them to turn around and do this. The moment Epstein's name was related to Andrew, this should have happened straight away. Then.
Absolutely. Completely.
Removed the prince title, removed from succession of throne.
Yeah.
The lot.
Again, it's because of how much does it politically damage the family. That's why they didn't remove him when they did. You can understand the reason why.
The moment a prince's name comes up next to a
convicted paedophile,
yeah, the moment that name is dropped next to him, I'm sorry, but you're banned from the royal family completely. There's no, let's hang on and wait. No, sorry, no, your name's been tarnished. Fuck off.
You see, that's the problem, Chris, because he's a trade envoy. And Epstein was a big businessman back in the day. Really big. He was like, you know how Elon Musk is treated today?
Yeah.
He was like the Elon Musk during that period. So Epstein was connected to so many people. So you have to say how much involved is my brother. And that's what they've been doing. They've been dragging their feet about this. And now that the rest of these files have come out, yeah, all right. Now it's gone to fucking dogs.
Still would have literally turned around and told him you're not having any public relations whatsoever.
Yeah, no. And he was pushed in the back burner.
Yeah, but then he got brought back again.
Yes, because the fucking king was pushed to by the rest of his family. And Charlie can't stand him, I'm telling you this. You do any reading about it, oh, fuck it, I've got to bring that cunt back. That's literally what... Charlie didn't want him back.
I would have turned around and go, hang on, so you're telling me to bring back someone that's connected to a paedophile back into office? What part of
who I don't like?
Despite my personal grievances with the twat, what good is this going to do us?
The family.
Yeah, that would have been my main argument. He's connected to a paedophile. Yeah, and you want me to
pushed him out.
We pushed him out due to it, and now you want me to bring him back in. What good is this going to bring us? His name's already been stained, and they're contemplating about releasing the files regarding to it. I see nothing but red flags.
Oh my
and
God.
To the king, I seriously suggest the people that turn around advise you to turn around and bring him back. I'm sure. We're pretty sure they were fired.
Yeah,
I was going to say
they've already gone.
I was going to say if they haven't already gone, conduct an investigation into whatever fucking matters they've cocked upon and get the fuck rid of them.
I'm pretty sure the advisors that suggested that Andrew returns no longer work for the palace.
Good.
And then the words of the palace is that, you know how neutral they are. They're seeking opportunities elsewhere. You know what that means, don't you?
They've been fucking fired.
Because I'm pretty sure the king did not want him back. And I think that's a very clear point. I was going to get on with the lobbying firm co-founded by Madison going into administration. Global Counsel, the lobbying firm co-founded by Peter Madison, has gone into administration. It comes after leading clients cut ties with the company after details emerge of Lord Madison's apparent links with the convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Dun 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 dun. Peter Madison is your example of a what's his name? The actor, Count Dooku. What was his Count Dooku's actor? Christopher Lee's early careers. You know, when he was in that really dramatic period. That's who I see Lord Madison as his company is going down the fucking toilet. This has momentous impact on the business and left its directors with no option, administration Interpath said in a statement on Friday. A senior source at the company collapse was a total nightmare and unfair, adding it risked the loss of 220 jobs. You're working for Peter fucking Madison. You have no morals to start with. You chose to take a job from the fucking Count Duckula.
Count Duckula.
You know, the cartoon villain of the Labour Party. Good morning, Mr. Tony Blair. Good morning, Mr. fucking Gordon.
Count Duckula.
I'm serious. I mean,
I had someone mention that cartoon name in ages.
I'm just deadly serious. How the fuck is this man so connected to almost this fucking chaos? And the fact that his underling, and I said this in our last podcast, was the Prime Minister's chief fucking advisor, and the McSweeney went swinging. The point, I'm not even surprised the company's collapsed. I'm really not. And I think that's a very key factor. You have to realise that this country is in dire fucking straits when people like Peter Madison, who comes across as a cartoon villain, and then you realise how fucking evil he really is and the shit he's been involved in.
It really makes me think of how the fuck are these people get into power without properly being vetted?
That's British politics for you. That is really British politics for you. As always, I'm John, Sean or Yahya, depends on who you're asking.
I'm Chris, hope you have a smashing day.
This is Your Voice, Your Nation. Thank you very much for staying to the end. If you've got here, it's a podcast 9. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.